Try this again.
And you're on.
Try this again. Okay.
Good thing we can edit it.
Anybody know about Lee Wana?
About Lana? No.
Lee Wana Moore. Oh,
That's what you
no,
said,
I
Lee
knew
Wana
somebody was
Moore
going to say
money.
something like that. This, I knew if I said something like that. This is the guy's real name, okay? He actually was assigned by President Reagan.
Oh.
And President Trump just
Yes.
gave him $4.5 trillion.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's who I'm talking about.
Okay.
And I gave videos out probably 2 years ago. And you're going to see a lot more videos and commentaries, documentaries rather. But according to Lee Wana, he was mandated by Reagan to first take down the Soviet Union, which we know, then to use his earned funds to save our republic. And his life story it's really pretty awesome because he was really put in prison for I forget how many years, 15, 20 years, and they tortured him and everything else. It's really, you'll see some documentaries come out on it. So he's going to pay off our national debt and build a high-speed rail system from one coast to the other. And this is the guy said he's going to do this, and he's going to do it back when Reagan was in. So it's just like JFK was going to do a lot of things too, but it didn't happen then. But it's getting ready to happen now. That's what's good about all this, okay? Official government and court records show that Wanda is worth tens of trillions of dollars that could easily pay off the national debt. He claims the deep state has swindled the American people out of their rightful future.
Yep.
We recorded this interview remotely with Wanda, presently at the government safe house for protection, and it goes into, it's a whole thing here, but recouping massive stolen funds from the deep state.
Massive.
Yeah. Ambassador Lee Wana joins the show to share his incredible mission to save our republic. According to Wana, he was mandated by Reagan to first take down the Soviet Union, then to use his earned funds to save our own republic, pay off our national debt, and build a high-speed rail system in the States. And that was way back in the 80s. So that's an interesting piece. You'll hear his name more in the future, I can tell you that. I've mentioned the QFS before, right? You understand the QFS to some degree? Quantum Financial System. Cindy set me up because we're talking about God's banking system, right? Well, this is the beginning of it, and God's banking system shoots off of this. I did print this one off. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but it is amazing. This QFS and the GCR. What's the GCR? Anybody know that?
GC.
Global Currency Reset. The whole point of the GCR is to bring all nations on a footing that's more par financially. Because there's some nations, we know the elitists, that are way up here and others way down there. And they talk about third world nations. Well, there's going to be some third and fourth and fifth world nations that some are going to come up to make it par, and some have to come down to make it par. So it'll be more equal footing for, they're really going to stomp out, excuse me, poverty and hunger. Now, just stop and think about that. That's a big comment.
Amen.
But that is exactly true. I really believe that 100%. The shrills, it's hard to say, shrills, are lurking about trying to discredit the greatest financial advancement of all time, the quantum financial system. This misunderstanding may be a result of the fact that the quantum financial system has no comparison to anything that has ever been presented to the world before. It's like an anti-gravity machine compared to a car. There is no real basis to understand this technology. It has no peer, it has no equivalent in advanced technology that anyone has ever had before. It's new, it reigns supreme in the technology, it uses it to accomplish the financial security and transparency. There's the key word. Transparency, we as those that go through this, to the quantum financial system from the global currency reset. Now those are interesting terms. technology it uses to accomplish the financial security and transparency as we find out about performing our humanitarian goals. Now think about it. This quantum financial system, what they're talking about here, this is a computer that is the size of 2 football fields. And of course it's underground, but it's the most advanced technology, and they say it cannot be hacked in or changed or anything. So that's pretty cool, actually. But this is what's going to be the neatest thing, I think, that we've seen in decades, because it's going to make all the banks, see, I'm getting ahead, but this thing is actually kind of leading into where we're going, but the banking system, as we know, the world's system, is a mess. This will clean it up as much as it can be cleaned up, so to speak. So if the GCR uses the QFS, I know I'm using these letters, but you know what I'm talking about, then we'll bring up the banking system where it's transparent, meaning, okay, you know how you send money around the world right now? It's called the SWIFT system, okay? Now they got the new one, that counterpart of that, which is called the CIPS, C-I-P-S system. Well, the SWIFT system is going down because it's already controlled by the cabal and the Illuminati and et cetera, et cetera. So it's being abandoned, and so the new CIPS system is going to be interfaced with the QFS, so that anything that's done, it can't be done in hidden or in secrecy in any way, shape, or form.
Amen.
So if any of the cabal tries to get on it, they're done. There's no more hiding anything. That's the good part. Yeah.
But a lot of the, I've heard, and I don't know, a lot of the banks, they're not, they're not American.
Okay, we're going there.
Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to present this because this is part of the saving grace, if you will, of the world banking system to change over. To me, I look at this like the QFS is the stepping stone that takes us to the pure God banking system. You know what I'm saying? But it's the next step that's going to bring it from evil to at least good and light. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Then from there, I think we will go into what I haven't prophesied over you a year ago about the God banking system. You know, so it's real interesting to see it starting to uncover. So, and I don't want to take a lot of time. I mean, there's 4 or 5 pages on this thing. I just touched the first page, but it's really neat because that's been what has kept us in bondage for hundreds of years is the fact that they can hide it from us. Remember, I talked about the black blanket. It's always covered everything that the cabal, the whatever you want to call them, the Illuminati, the cabal, the shadow government. I mean, all these different words you use because they're all connected. But deep state, all that is because they can hide things from everybody else. The problem is the last few years, and I will get to this probably, I hope. In fact, I might want to do that next. This is really, really good. They never thought she would lose.
Oh,
And you know where we're going, right?
yeah.
Barack Obama had 8 years. His goal, to weaken the U.S. globally.
Absolutely.
He did it by installing rogue operators in the government. He removed good guys from the government.
Yep.
He funded terrorism.
Yeah.
Now, just think about that. And now it's all coming out. It's not, it was always suspected, but now there's proof. MS-13s
Yep.
and ISIS
Yep.
came right out of our government. That's pretty scary. They funded them? That's scary. They leaked classified intel, military secrets. Of course, Hillary Clinton had a lot to do with that. Special access programs sell off. They sold off the special access programs to other countries. Nuclearized North Korea and Iran, which they did. And this is the 8 years that Barack was in. They cut the military funding. Now that's just
Yeah.
asinine. I mean, talking about shooting yourself in the foot. I mean, they were going out to junkyards to rob parts to get the F-15s to run. That's crazy.
That's why so many pilots were killed.
That's exactly right. Weaken the NSA, reveal programs, national security, fund supply North Korea and to Iran.
Funded Osama too.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
right. Weaken command of the generals. In other words, they told them what they can and cannot do.
Yep.
They tied their hands. They didn't want them to win a war in Iraq or anything
And we
else.
seen just part of that was that this corporal or this what was he?
Flynn?
Huh?
We're talking about Flynn?
No, the I think it was a sergeant that killed a terrorist, and now he's on
Oh,
trial
yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
training. That was part of.
That's another, yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many pieces to this, but this is his 8 years. This is what Obama did already in 8 years. Target weakening conservative base. He did that. Staged the Supreme Court. Killed NASA space supremacy.
Yeah.
They did that. EMP risk.
Yep.
That's very real. Relax the borders
Yeah.
and the flood of the illegals. That's what they're all about. That's what they have done in the last 8 years. The next 8 years, if HRC would have got in,
Yep. Come on.
World War III
Yeah.
would have happened. They've tried many times, by the way, in the last 2 years. Real and or orchestrated. They're going. The goal. That's why they wanted one world government by 2022.
Yeah.
16 to 22. That's rather than be 24. With it. Anyway, the point is they wanted to revise the Constitution, change the Constitution. That right there is crazy.
You mean do away with it?
Well, they're going to revise it to fit them
They
to
were trying
do
to make
away
it
with the
more
real
of a-
one. But yeah, absolutely.
A monarchy instead of a democratic.
Exactly.
Close U.S. military bases globally. Population control. Oh, right there's a big one. You guys don't even want me to tell you about what you already know I'm crazy, but when I tell you this, you're all going to say I'm in the
You can only.
conspiracy theory
All you
stuff.
gotta
but-
do is research Beach Grove in LaPorte, Indiana,
Well,
for
that
the
too.
FEMA camps.
Yeah, well, look at the old Walmarts they're closing down.
And you can only live in certain areas of the country because
A lot of stuff.
The
everybody's
Beach
gonna.
Grove train station
Yep.
has the concertina wire
Yep.
on the
Yeah,
outside
right.
to keep people
Out.
out.
Exactly, right.
Now, who would want to get in? And they
Yeah.
just had a newly furnished furnace put in on the rail line, where if you look at the rail line, you'll see where the train can pull up. There's about this much room from where the door opens on the furnace, and it'll heat the inside of the cars.
Crazy.
Yeah. And all of your road signs on the back of your road signs is how to get to those kinds of places.
Yeah, they've got some of that too. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff that used to be thought of as conspiracy theories that are really, some of them are working out to really be true. That's true. Anyway, this population control, that's huge because the elitists don't want
That's right.
the masses to rise up either.
They want enough people to take care of them,
Yeah.
but no access.
And pocket billions of dollars, mass extinction event, ban the sale of firearms. Of course they want to ban the sale of firearms. They repeal the Second Amendment. Of
Yeah.
course they want to do that. No guns, no armed revolt. Just think about that. Look what happened in France. Look what happened in,
Europe.
yeah, but, not Egypt, but, yeah, anyway, there's several different places that have been doing that. Yeah, it's crazy. Destroy and censor opposing news outlets. Ha, interesting. They've already got so much control by the MSMs, but they want to literally keep the lid on. It borders, and I think I've said this before, but it borders on mind control
Absolutely.
so that they can control what they want you to hear. I mean, it's propaganda, but it goes beyond propaganda. You know what I'm saying? I'm convinced that Hitler had some kind of spirit that would hypnotize people, mass
Charisma.
Yeah, there was a charisma, but there was a spirit behind it that literally would hypnotize people, I think.
Yeah.
To where they were all just, whoo, head over heels.
Mhm.
And that goes right along and matches with this whole thing of the, again, people talk about conspiracy theories, but even Mark Taylor talks about this too. God's frequency is 444 megahertz.
That's right. That's exactly.
And they want to switch it to 440 megahertz.
Yep.
Why? I told you this the other day on the phone too, Pat. Remember? What was the purpose of the flood in the first place? Why did he have to flood everything but one family?
To get rid of the giants.
The what?
The giants.
True, but what was the point of that was they had already polluted their bloodline.
Absolutely.
So Jesus couldn't come out, and so they had to save the one that Jesus was going to come out of.
They
you know
were
what
the
I'm
only ones that had not
saying? Being polluted.
exactly as
So
far as DNA.
interesting.
Oh, boy.
What I don't understand is like the planes.
Chemtrails and all that.
Yeah. Why don't they stop that?
There is a shadow government that's still in high places. That's the problem. See, when you say shadow government, the funny thing is, you know, we almost were done for.
Absolutely.
As a, yeah, we were almost, well, they almost got us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because they have people in you know, we've got 3 branches of government. But if everybody in the highest positions of those are all, okay, not of the republic, if they were the cabal, that's why each government part has the checks and balances. The problem is when you have high people in each one of them, there is no checks and balances.
Exactly.
That's what happens.
And as each president came in, they had a certain amount of accomplishment that they had to do. Clinton had so much,
Yeah.
Bush had so much.
That's why even our fireman prophet, Mark Taylor, he talked about the how did he say it? The years that the 5 presidents that served, the crew of the 32.
Come on.
Okay, the crew of the 32. Those 5 presidents served 32 years.
Yeah.
Interesting. What is 32?
Come on.
Covenant.
Mm.
They made a covenant. Those 5 presidencies served 32 years. Okay? Between all 5 of them. Some of them had 2 terms, some had 1. So they made a covenant.
What 5 presidents?
Well, right after Reagan, you had Bush Sr., then you had Clinton,
Yep.
then you had Junior,
Yep.
no, you had Carter, excuse me, Carter was back there. So you had Senior, Carter, Clinton, Junior, and Obama. And out of that, there's 32 years.
And there,
Which the cartel and the secret societies,
yeah.
they were all in that for a purpose. This is what I was reading all about. The 16 years, by the way. Okay, there you go. What's 16? Numbers are important.
And there's a picture of those 5 presidents
Yeah.
with Lady Gaga,
Yeah,
who
that's
is
true.
the queen. She is the
And the music they had that played at the White House was horrible.
and that's the frequency.
That's
that
the
frequency
right.
of music.
Yep.
Is what
So,
everybody listens to.
Interesting stuff, isn't it?
Yes.
So they were to destroy and censor the opposing news outlets, eliminate final good guys in the government. I'm talking about the next 8 years was supposed to be, Hillary Rodham Clinton. That's what she was supposed to do. Obama done messed us all up, and she was going to finish the job. Install corrupt Supreme Court justices. Open the borders. We know they're still trying to keep that. Kill the economy, which they done a darn good job for the last 8 years. Enslave the public. Now think about that in a minute. How is it that the public is enslaved right now?
That goes back
We
to
could
the
talk
straw
a lot of stuff there.
That goes back to the straw man and the America's bankruptcy.
Okay, we're going there. So enslave the public. The biggest thing is the finances. Keep us, there is no hardly any middle class anymore. You know what I'm saying? That's the sad part. Yeah.
And they put our kids, you have to go to college, you have to go for this many years, because we want you in debt this much
Oh,
by the
yeah,
time you come
absolutely.
out,
Sure.
so that you're enslaved.
Well, I got news. I got good news. I'm telling you, the gospel is you ain't gonna have to pay back any of them college debts. I'm serious.
That's right.
This year, 2019, you wait and see. This is the real, true year of Jubilee.
Gonna be wiped out.
Mark it down.
Trump's
Save
gonna,
your stones till later. But
Trump's gonna wipe it out.
it's the truth. It's really going to happen. So, there also, the next 8 years was to remove the electoral college. Isn't that interesting? They've already tried working on that. To install the popular vote. Limit and remove military funding, which they already done some of that. So this is their plan. That was their 16-year plan. Again, what did I say 16 was though? That's why it's going to get them. Oh, I didn't, did I? Point was,
You were holding back on us.
No,
You
I'm
wouldn't
not.
even tell us what 7 was, so I mean.
16,
Is half a 30?
32 covenant. That's half 32. That's true. But if you take the covenant, what does the covenant really come from? A covenant. Now, of course, we realize theirs was a
Holy or unholy?
That's what I was just saying. Their 32 years was unholy, but the covenant of God.
Yeah.
Now, what was it? He said, what's half of 30? He said, 16 is half 32. I said, that's true. So what is 16? Love. So you get double love and bring you into the covenant of God.
Amen.
That was good.
Anyway, all free guys. All free.
I'll write that down.
Yeah. So I got a whole lot too much, but I am going to get some more things along the way here. Here's what you wanted to hear. In 1913, the Federal Reserve Act was put in force without ratification of the Congress. Did you hear what I just said?
Uh-huh.
Read it again.
In 1913, the Federal Reserve Act was put into force without ratification of the Congress. How did
wow.
Thank you. I'm glad you asked. Guess when it was done? It was done on Woodrow Wilson's shift, by the way.
Really?
And it was done on December the 23rd, 1913, when it wasn't a scheduled Congress meeting.
When Congress was out.
They ran it through, guys. I'm telling you. Talk about a kangaroo court thing.
When
That's
Congress
what happened.
was out on vacation.
Exactly. See, Congress leaves in the 2021 or whatever, and it'll come back to the first of the year. That's what happened. But it was the few, the globalist, the elite, that ran it through. So that certain private families, such as the Rothschilds,
Yes.
plus the Crown of England,
Yes.
and guess what, who else? The Vatican. So the Vatican could have control over financial, banking, and political affairs of the United States.
Do we have to go there?
Yes, I do. Ever since that privately owned Federal Reserve, did I say privately owned Federal Reserve, has nothing to do with the federal government, privately owned Federal Reserve. By the way, the Federal Reserve is a corporation. Has nothing to do with being in the government at all.
Exactly.
So it's privately owned Federal Reserve and IRS. They're
Is that
both
why
illegal.
They can't get an accurate
both
count
illegal.
on the gold bullion.
Yeah, there's something in that too. But anyway, okay. And the IRS have collected U.S. tax monies and paid them all directly to who? The Crown of England. And 300 private shareholders of the Federal Reserve Bank. Wonder who those 300 are.
The elite.
You got it. The 13 families came from Rothschilds, Rockefellers, all those, Kennedys, whoever. Leaving the U.S. government to be totally funded through a CIA, and I hear this, totally funded, the U.S. government to be totally funded through a CIA mind-controlled black budget. Isn't that crazy? Involved in illegal gun running, drugs, human child trafficking, organized by the Vatican, and enforced by various mafias for the use of satanic worshiping global elites. Now that's
Wasn't it also true that all the presidents, the past presidents, were all 33?
Yeah, I know. Just not Reagan, and not Trump. Anyway,
Well, I said the past.
alright, but
That's
anyway,
because, that's,
there is some,
and if you'll notice, there is a brotherhood that they have.
that,
Right.
And,
that's the point.
and that, they don't break it.
Okay, the plan, Operation Q, was in effect to save the economy and gain back control of the U.S. politics affairs through restoration of the original Constitution, and a revaluation of the fiat U.S. dollar into gold asset-backed U.S. notes. Now, did you get that?
Yep,
You understand what I just said?
yep.
That's key. They
Say
already
it
got the,
again.
they
Say
already
it
got the,
again.
all right.
One more time.
The operation was in effect to save the economy and to gain back control of the U.S. political affairs through restoration of the original Constitution and a revaluation of the fiat U.S. dollar, okay, into gold asset-backed U.S. notes, our first United States Treasury note. And they're in the banks, and they're pretty, and they're rainbow, they're all colors. Wait till you see them. They're already in the banks. They're gonna be out real soon.
Monopoly money.
Yeah, but they look better. They're prettier. Got more ink.
I didn't think they could get an accurate count on the gold, so how's it back to the gold?
Just hang on.
Okay.
We'll get there. It's number 7.5. Okay, backed by this U.S. note via a global currency reset that would dissolve the Federal Reserve. Hello. Got it? It's going to dissolve the Federal Reserve and return U.S. taxpayer money back to the people instead of to the Crown and the Vatican. And by the way, before it gets to the Crown and the Vatican, the Fed and the IRS took a chunk. Okay, there's a lot to read, but
You mean Trump's not gonna fire that guy?
huh?
You mean Trump's not gonna fire that guy? Peterson, or what's his name? Federal Reserve guy. Powell.
Oh, Powell.
Yeah,
He will when he's done
Yeah.
using him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Same with Mnuchin.
exactly.
He will as soon as he's done doing what he does best, so that he can. Oh, it's really getting cool, guys.
It is.
Trump is playing chess and they're playing checkers. I'm telling you.
This is better than a drama
know.
set.
Oh, this is fun.
Yeah.
Actually, it's really actually fun.
God knows what he's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so this will be accomplished through the GCR release equals the indictments unsealed, 70,000 now. 70,000 indictments. That's just the United States. I used to think it was the world. That's just the United States. I just found that out last week. 70,000 indictments.
How'd you find that out?
Oh, if I told you that key. I work for the FBI.
Can
Not
you,
kidding, just kidding. James, help me.
can you tell him about,
James, call me.
about Bush's funeral?
Yeah, I will. I'll get
Okay.
there. Okay, so the GCR release equals the indictments unsealed, 70,000, equals mass arrests, equals martial law.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just hang in there, guys.
Mm-hmm.
It equals the U.S. Space Command active, which they have done. He just got that done, the executive order here just
2 weeks
recently.
ago.
Yeah, just not too long ago. Equals military tribunals held, which is going to start in 2 days, either the 2nd or the 3rd.
It's gonna be so exciting.
Oh, this is awesome. Okay, military tribunals. Why military tribunals? What did they have to do with Hitler and them? Same thing. They had to have military tribunals, not civil, not superior court, none of that. It had to be military. He just brought back 365 commissioned officers for this purpose. Just another little added note. It's really cool. Military tribunals held equals the republic being restored.
Amen.
Now, Gesara law is going to be implemented. GESARA, I could look it up and tell you exactly, but it's global, Gesara, starts with a G, global economy, security, I can't remember all the words, okay? That's Gesara, that's the world. Then there's Nesara, which is our national,
National.
okay? Anyway, there's a lot to that too, but I don't want to take the time. Then, after the Gesara law is implemented, they will have new elections held.
Come on.
I'm waiting on everybody to
Yeah,
say
come
something
on.
here.
They're soaking it in. They're soaking it in.
I know. This is cool. Then, there's going to also equal a fair tax system for everybody. Now think about that.
my.
A fair tax system.
Come on.
Isn't that interesting? So really and truly, the Fed is already dead.
Yeah.
The Fed and the IRS are gone.
Amen.
Yes. Ding dong, the wicked witch.
Right.
I just came up and I thought, that's true. The wicked old
Yes.
Federal Reserve
Yes.
and the IRS is gone.
Yes.
That's why
Hallelujah.
people went through the last 2 years, by the way, before the IRS, it was their last hurrah. All these
Mhm.
501c3 churches
Mhm.
that made big bucks,
Mhm.
like Copeland,
Yes.
Rennie, all of those
Yes.
people, they had to cash out big bucks. And it was
Mhm.
all illegal, but it still happened. Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
Just, well, we're going. Roads, we don't need no roads. This is gonna be good.
They seized the assets, the 501c3s.
Let me touch that in a minute, okay? He signed an executive order in December 20th, 2017, okay?
Mhm.
That says anybody in the world that is caught doing criminal activities, which is a whole list of what these criminal activities are, everything from, embezzlement, drugs, child pornography, everything you think of, okay, all the, they signed it in, he signed an executive order, and it's backed by the World Bank, by the way, as well as the tribunals, that anybody that is charged and committed with those crimes, that we get to sell everything they own and put it towards our debt.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool? Them yachts them people have,
Yeah.
some of them yachts are like, hello, a
Absolutely.
couple $1,000,000 or more.
For more.
Yeah, all that stuff. I love it.
Yeah.
And he did that a year ago, this month, a year ago. And those 70,000 indictments started from October of 2017, so it's 15 months now.
Can't you just imagine all these people biting their fingernails?
Oh, are you serious?
Mind
That,
maps, you know?
that's what happened at Bush's
Tell them.
funeral.
Tell
Well, we're getting there.
You know what it is though? It's like the enemy playing his hand,
Absolutely.
having so
Overplaying.
much
Yes.
pride and
Overplaying.
audacity.
That's right.
Absolutely.
To
Overplaying.
think, you know, I
Absolutely.
heard this years ago. The enemy still thinks he can take the throne.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's like
Oh, I got so much more
it's
to
like
say.
Pharaoh's army playing into God's hand.
Yes.
God baited
I'd love to
them
get that.
out. God
Yes.
baited them to
Exactly.
That's
God.
exactly right.
Just so he
That
could
is
he
exactly
could
right.
drown
Like,
their
like
Yes.
what Trump is doing now. He's
That's
mixing
right.
up.
yeah.
The swamp.
Hey, the swamp
The swamp.
creatures are going down.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, now, with all that said about the Federal Reserve and the IRS,
Yeah.
it's finally going
I
down. You
said
saw
a
where it
little
went,
harder.
to the Crown and to the Vatican,
Yes.
okay? Do you realize who owned
Talking
Fed
about
and the
as
IRS?
hard you did
Really?
as when it
Yeah,
Yeah.
but there's a connection that is direct, the WTO, World Trade Organization.
Well, yeah.
They owned it because they owned the central banks.
Right.
Central banks own the Federal Reserve. So the Federal Reserve, the IRS, go to the central banks. The central banks are owned by the World Trade Organization and the IMF, by the way, International Monetary Fund. Isn't that interesting? So they're all in the bed together.
Yep.
Wow.
So what about the Social Security? All I've been hearing about from my
Yeah.
dad and things
Right.
like that, hey, how are we gonna,
2 months from now, they're going to get blessed. He's already said so. They're going to get an increase.
It's had something to do with all
I
of the.
heard that.
That's
the,
your
uh,
insurance isn't gonna
Yeah.
take away
the
from
con-
it.
No.
all the congressmen, all the elected officials, after their term is done, they're to go back and get their own jobs.
Okay. All right, hold on. Before we
But,
get any
but-
further.
but the Social Security thing
Sorry.
was only like 70 a month or something.
Yeah, but that's great. But
That's a
wait
lot
till you
for
see.
some people.
Well, yeah, when you're on fixed income, $70 a month is
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
I mean, an increase of 70.
Yeah.
But that's just the start. Remember what it said? It said, where did I start the sentence? These are long sentences. Anyway, the original Constitution and a revaluation of the fiat U.S. dollar into gold asset backed U.S. notes. Gold asset. What does that mean? Got anything on that? Gold asset.
Well, we have
Go on.
gold that we've kept for years and years and years, back in the 1700s.
The United States has got 88,100 tons. And the next one is 3,000 tons. So we're way ahead in that sense. But what I like about this is it says the global currency reset that would dissolve the Federal Reserve. Wait a minute, back up. Restoration of the original Constitution and a revaluation of the fiat dollar, U.S. dollar, into gold asset-backed U.S. notes. Gold asset. What do they say asset? The gold is great, but there's not enough gold in the whole world to back anybody's currencies, the whole world's currency.
Right.
So it's gold / assets. That means everything in every 209 nations of the world has been assets. They've assigned a dollar figure to all of the. Remember when school we
It's
said
like
you got
oil.
you got oil, you got gold, you got precious stones, everything in the ground.
Right.
They however they come up with that asset back is anything that's in the ground yet. So the gold plus the assets that have not been brought out, and that's where you come up with backing your money to the full. See, when we went off the gold standard, hello, thank you, Mr. Nixon. But I'm not. I remember that. You guys remember seeing it on the TV?
Yes.
Mom, you saw it, didn't you? Oh gosh,
Yeah.
it's just like are you
It's all
serious?
forced up.
Now, Watergate did that,
I
didn't
just
it?
remember the
Watergate
song.
launched that.
Song.
Said I smoked, but I didn't inhale.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay, so I said all that for that purpose because it's gold asset backed.
Just didn't inhale.
Okay, global currency reset that would dissolve the Federal Reserve and return the U.S. taxpayer money back to the people.
Amen.
Yeah, you're going to get some things, in Social Security, but wait till you see what and how you're going to get it back. Just think about it. If you have all that money from the Federal Reserve and the IRS, which were both illegal, all that money that they sent to the Crown and the Crown sent to the Vatican, you know how many trillions of dollars that is? That's all going to come back to us.
How many people in the United States? How many people? How many?
70,000 indictments.
70,000?
That's just in the United States. Now, what's interesting is it was let out the 21st, December. Okay? Everybody went home for the holiday. The House, the Senate, all the congressmen. Okay?
Except Trump.
Except Trump. That's right. He stayed there and did his thing.
Yeah.
I got so much more. If I don't keep reading it, I'm going to lose my place. But it's really neat because you're going to see what happens. And let me keep reading. I gave you the WTO, the IMF. Okay. In the U.S. military operation has been in place for some time. We now are in phase 5 of 5 phases. President Trump stayed in the White House instead of going to Florida for Christmas in order to control the situation, and then made an unexpected trip to Iraq, which we know. Why was that for?
Well, he
Anybody
wasn't
got any
gonna go.
ideas?
He
Sign
wasn't
off
gonna
on
go
some
because he
things.
was scared to go. Yeah.
Propaganda.
Yeah.
Anyway, the whole point was for the GCR. Global Currency Reset. 209 nations of the world. Everybody's
Beer.
going to get back on par.
Beer.
The government shutdown of the U.S. government over the holidays was not about funding the wall, but about a financial reboot and upcoming military tribunals. That's what it's all about, but this is the thing that they look at as the catalyst. You know what I mean? Congress was in recess, and a recent Trump executive order excused federal employees from work. Civilians working for the military have reportedly been given extensive leave over the holiday. The shutdown included closing the old UST, the old United States Treasury, along with closure of the government offices, including the Federal Reserve and the IRS. That would prevent global elite cabal-owned banks from exchanging the currencies of the GCR. Remember what I said? Quantum financial system? The cabal can't get into it because they'll be kicked out immediately. Interesting. December the 20th, President Trump signed National Emergency Executive Order now extended to December 20th, 2019,
He would welcome the government shutdown.
that froze the assets of those charged with crimes against humanity. Now, that's what I was talking about last year, the 20th of 2017 of December. Against humanity, including global elites involved in human child trafficking and pedophilia.
Oh,
There were now over 70,000 sealed indictments against these global elites from the government, law enforcement, news media. I mean, this is broad. It goes everywhere. Entertainment, big industry, and big tech with indictments against them, most charged with pedophilia.
especially,
Filed in federal courts across the nation.
especially Hollywood.
Sealed indictments as of October the 30th. Okay,
Now these like federal, like,
okay. There's going to be, let me keep going, because I'll fill in the blanks as we go. The stock market crash was essential to the plan to take down the fiat U.S. dollar and the corrupt Federal Reserve. Since October the 1st, we know the stock market's been in a free fall, blah, blah, blah. It lost all of its gains it had in 2018, reached back to 2008 levels. That's way higher. And dived over 650 points in the worst Christmas Eve ever after the market's worst week in a decade. That's saying something. Even though there was a gain on Wednesday, an expected announcement of martial law would likely cause investors to sell their shares in mass, resulting in a stock market drop of at least 25% of that. Now, this stuff is good, guys. All right. In September, President H.W. Bush was tried. Now get this. Here's what people don't know. President Bush was tried and he pled guilty to money laundering, human trafficking, and his role in, you guys know what this is, don't you? The murder of President JFK. He pled guilty. By November, Bush was executed by lethal injection. Now, see, people don't know this. They just think he died
Come on,
from natural causes or whatever.
come on.
By lethal injection, and $10 trillion was seized from the Bush cartel. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
$10 trillion was seized because President Trump, last year in December, put that executive order out.
Cartel.
That's the point. Well, when they're criminals and the things they did, okay? But he pled guilty to it. And you know what he was famous for saying for so many years? Bush. He said, if the populace at large knew the truth, they'd hang me from the closest light post.
Yeah.
He used to say that all the time.
Yeah.
How crazy was that? Huh?
Is President Bush?
Yeah.
Senior. Yeah, he sure did.
he was, died by lethal injection
Yep.
when?
Friday, November the 30th.
Oh, wow.
That was like a week after Thanksgiving. Okay, he was on the, it was the 30th.
Yeah.
Okay, at President Bush's funeral, the indictments appeared to be served on the Clintons.
What?
Now that's,
What'd you say?
you heard me.
Huh?
I didn't stutter. The indictments appeared to be served on the Clintons, the Obamas, Bidens, George Bush Jr., and Pence.
Can I tell it?
Pants.
Can I tell it?
Hang on, girl.
Can I tell
Go
it?
on. Have some fun.
So at the funeral, you've got presidents sitting in the front row.
They were all chattering
Trump's
Yeah.
sitting on
Oh,
the,
man.
until Trump walked
and
in.
vice presidents are sitting on the second row.
Yep.
Yeah.
So 5 notebooks come out. They're passed to the people he just said.
Yep.
Laura Bush.
Oh,
looks-
she looks like she's going to faint.
She looks at George and she says, "Is this real?" You can
Yep.
read her lips.
Oh, yeah, they had people
Is
read
this
their lips. It was
real?
really funny.
And he says, "Yes." Hillary's
Think they were
face.
sweating now?
Hillary's face, her lips tighten up. She
She
is
closed it
so,
real quick, too.
She is so ticked.
Yeah, she was ticked. The rest of them were scared. She was just mad
And,
because she didn't get by
and
with it.
her husband is just sitting there like this.
It's crazy.
So in walks Trump and Melania. They
Yep.
sit on the end of
Back their body.
the row. These people are sitting in their seats like
Yeah.
wooden soldiers.
Yep. They sure were.
No expression, no looking at Trump, no nothing. It's like, we're dead.
Mm-hmm.
So what about Pence? I wanna know about.
Okay.
He walks over and
Bill.
talks to Hillary and
Bill.
like
And then
best,
shakes their
best
hand.
friends, and stands there for 3-4 minutes.
Shakes their hand. Now this is the third time. He shakes hands with people in high places and they give him notes in his
Exactly.
hand. Now, there's more than that, but I was kind of wondering this whole last year when everybody's talking about Pence. Now I found some things out in the last month.
Our vice president.
Yes,
Wow,
this
They
Christian
say he's the
man.
mole.
wow.
This Christian
But anyway,
man.
but look at him.
Cat
We
Kerr
just-
said he's gonna be.
Okay, but just hold on. Doesn't I'm praying for Hillary and Bill to
Absolutely.
come to God.
Amen.
Okay,
Amen.
all I'm
Amen.
saying
Clement
is
had a prophecy about Hillary
Do,
coming.
do we have it prophetically on Pence? Because
There-
I,
okay. There's some things.
I've got a few things to say with this. Like Bob has a very, very good friend that I know that Mike Pence worked with him all the time,
Right.
volunteering
He's here.
in this motorcycle ministry, and he tells me that he prays in tongues over everything. I just
sure he
find it
does.
highly improbable that I mean, so I want to know if we have it prophetically. I don't care
Okay,
about
I
some
understand.
website saying
Right.
Cat Kerr said he would be president
She
After-
said he would be the next
after
president
two terms of
Yes,
Trump,
I
that
know
the
that.
father told her
So
that
that's
Pence
why I'm
would get 2
saying,
terms.
even though some things
I
have been
mean,
brought out,
Obama was
okay?
president.
my mom went to school and was friends
Yeah.
with his
Oh,
wife.
I've always liked him. I've always thought a lot of things, but all I'm saying is, some facts, there's some facts. Now, what happens from here, it'll be played out. I don't have prophetically about him, that's why I've never said anything up to now. All I'm saying is some things that have been said and seen. So, where we're at with that, I don't know. But just like the other big thing that blew me away this whole last year when I've been doing all this studying, was Netanyahu resigned. So, just saying, that kind of shocked me too, okay?
Yeah.
That and Pence, both, those two shocked me. So, but I'm not gonna, I'm not sitting there prophesying about it, I'm just saying, there's things that's been coming out, so,
John,
all of the, it's not done, we're not finished,
there's
we don't
lots,
know everything.
there's lots of
That's right, we
well-meaning
don't know
Christians
everything, that's right.
that are part of the
So-
Masons. And just like we said before, when they make a pact, and there is a pact that they have to say
Yeah.
with each other, more than one, that makes them a brotherhood, and they do not break it. I know this I know personally people that have done this and are up into the 33rd.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm just saying, we're talking about a spirit-filled man.
Yeah.
If we don't know that stuff for a fact, we shouldn't be saying it.
All I'm saying is the things that I've seen and heard about what has been brought to the light. I'm not saying, I'm not prophesying, I'm saying these are some details that have been said.
If you had seen
And-
him with Hillary,
Well, so.
That doesn't mean it.
No, it doesn't, we're not proving nothing here,
No.
okay? But what I'm saying is, we have to just pray, and we don't wanna, we want to pray for people, and we do not want to condemn people.
That's right.
So we always want to, and if he's got one of God's anointed, we don't want to touch him in
that's
a wrong
right.
way.
That's right.
That's right.
But all I'm saying is
Exactly.
there's things that are being done and seen that I was
Questionable.
really questioned, all through the year
Only
about
God
him.
knows
So
the
anyway,
hearts.
that's the point right there. Okay. But there are some things that we do know.
Yes.
Like there
yes,
are
yes.
literally, barges on their way
Yes.
to Gitmo right now. They got pictures of them, and I believe
what?
it's true. There are barges with over 1,000 people that's already been arrested that are on their way to Gitmo. Okay? That's
On the way to what?
Gitmo
Oh.
prison,
Gotcha.
Guantanamo, Cuba.
Okay.
Anyway, so on January 2nd, federal courts across the nation will begin trials for those arrested as a result of over 70,000 indictments, plus was the start date for the military tribunals of those sent to Gitmo. Interesting things.
People's gonna be asking, where's so-and-so, where's
Yeah,
so-and-so?
that's true. But see, just like I brought up a page here the other day, and it says, they told the title was, here's Hillary Rodham Clinton, and they've arrested her in handcuffs. It was taken down immediately, I knew they'd see it. So there's some things that, you know, we're probably not gonna see, but if they're in jail, they're in jail. Who cares about whether you see them or anything?
That's
No,
right.
what I'm saying is a lot of them that's gonna go, that they're just gonna disappear out of politics, and we're not gonna know
Exactly.
everybody and who they are and all of
Right.
each other. I don't want any of them. I don't care. As long as they're out of our
That's
government.
right.
And then one of the things that was said was, when the Congress and the House comes back
Come
on
on,
the 3rd,
come on,
1/3 to even up to 2/3 of all the people will not be back.
that's right.
Well, and,
So-
can I interject?
Go ahead.
It's about the uncovering.
That's
It's about the uncovering and dealing with
Yep.
things that haven't been dealt with, and no matter who's where and what, I mean, we want that to happen. I heard the Lord so clear about the Senate, or not the Senate, the Congress, the House, that, because I was upset that, you know, that we didn't take the House, but he was saying, the Lord said, I am not done bringing that out, dealing with that. I am not done dealing with that. And so what looks like the enemy is winning, or, you know,
Taking
Yeah.
them.
it's almost incredible, incredulous to me that this would actually happen. You know,
Yeah, me too.
it's almost like I've got a
Huh?
stronger
Me too.
belief
Absolutely.
in the root
Absolutely.
Yes.
of what's always been able to
Yes.
dominate.
Exactly.
You know, and I gotta repent for that.
Me too. Me too. I've
It's
been
almost
sitting here
like I'm
repenting the whole
listening,
time.
and it's like you know,
Lord,
I
have
always take
mercy.
it to like
There's a
praise,
lot of
because
stuff. You know, and there's a lot of
I don't believe every news thing I hear,
Right.
no,
Absolutely not. It's not that.
but wow, God is
heavy
dealing with it, yeah.
Now, another thing I did want to bring out too, well, like in the stock market thing, you know, we hit almost 27,000, and then it got back down to almost 22. That's a big difference there. But I wanted to hit was, okay, so 1913, when the Federal Reserve was illegally, and the IRS and Federal Reserve were put in illegally, that was the start in the United States. Now, they did it in other countries before they did it here, the central banks. The Federal Reserve is about the central bank and the IRS. But there is, the Act of 1871 is where it really started, before it got to 1913. Here's one for you, Deb, that you was telling me about. It says, last week on the international scene, Cardinal George Pell was found guilty of sexual abusing children and fired by the Pope because he was elderly.
What?
Pell was in charge of financial matters at the Vatican and a secret controller of most world government leaders. That's pretty scary stuff too.
It's ugly, boys and
Did
girls.
you hear about the indictment for the Vatican, but they couldn't go into Vatican City
It's its own
to
entity.
to arrest him because until
But
he
it-
comes outside of that?
It's
Yeah.
gonna happen.
It's his own, it's,
Wow.
it's
They
their
are-
own
Who let
city.
that happen?
They are an enclave, okay? They are,
The only
they
thing I
answer
could
to
think
nobody.
was,
You know, in a sense, the Pope is kind of like, and I'm not comparing it, but I'm thinking about God
Yes.
is sovereign.
Yeah.
In that sense, the Pope is sovereign, and it is his country. Vatican City, Rome, that is his, it's an enclave, it's a country within a country, and it's his jurisdiction, but there's gonna be things that's gonna take it all down. So, I'm not concerned about that, I know it's gonna happen. But this whole thing of this sex trafficking and all this child, pornography, but not only that, but the child sacrifices, that's the biggest thing.
Yes.
That's what-
That's
That
really
was the
good.
They said
first
that
thing
they
I
had
heard about
found
Queen
two
Elizabeth and her child.
bodies, a male and a
Yes.
female, in the catacombs
Yeah.
of
In
the
the
White
walls.
House,
Yes.
where
Yeah.
it was a male and a female that was cut in half, and their bodies were like put on top of each other.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff to hear, but I'm concerned about the major things of getting things turned around. That's what I
Yes.
wanna hear, is we
Exactly.
get our
Yes.
republic back. We get these military tribunals
Yes.
happening. You know, the Fed and IRS, I believe they're already gone. I'm not concerned about that. But all that monies that was going to the Crown and to the Vatican
Yes.
is going back to us. That's trillions of dollars
Yes.
to the people, not the government,
The
by the way.
The wealth transfer?
That is a piece of it, okay? It is a piece.
Okay.
But the bigger piece is I'm gonna go to my next section here in a minute. I don't think I want to say that now. Anyway, I mean, there's a ton of stuff here, but to see how it functions, this whole thing of who pays what and all this stuff, it's amazing. It just blew my mind.
United
Well,
States.
Here's
Yeah.
a picture. Yeah, really.
This whole thing blows my
I
mind.
know.
United States
Here's a
will no longer
picture
be in debt.
of the two barges.
Kim Clement prophesied that.
Yeah. There's a picture of the two barges on the way to Gitmo. And they look a lot like, you remember you see these barges where they put these big semi,
Yeah.
they're
Connect
stacked up, and they
Yes.
just turn them into cells. It's crazy. But,
Wow.
and now they're saying that there's two that was already going that had a lot of the higher ups, and they're waiting on General Mattis to receive them today. So that was interesting. And now they say there's 4 more barges after these two. So, I mean, 70,000 people?
Yeah.
Gitmo has been expanded 7 times bigger than it was.
You know who reposted that on Facebook?
Who?
There's a producer that has worked with Sid Roth for 30 years. Her
Oh,
name's
yes. Duvall.
Janie Duvall.
Yeah.
And Jackie Duvall is her daughter.
Mhm.
I got them mixed up, but I'd sent a friend request to Jackie Duvall, and she accepted it, and it's so funny. I see all of her stuff. Then I figured it out that was the daughter, but she's like 30 some years old. Okay, so Jamie Duvall reposted that whole thing about 70,000 indictments. And to me, that carried more credibility than anything. You know, I'm so wary of
You have to be.
clickbait on
Yeah.
online
Yep,
and the
absolutely.
garbage
Yeah.
that they
Yes.
set up, and
Yes.
that's my concern. I want us to have
Yes.
truth,
Yeah.
not falling in the streets.
Amen.
We want
Right.
But when
truth.
you have more than one prophet prophesying it, you know, and I truly trusted Kim Clement. I
Right.
mean,
He really
was
went
right
a
on.
lot into issues
Yeah.
when he prophesied.
What are you referring to, of Kim?
Pardon?
What were you referring to, of Kim? That
What he
prophesied
said. He prophesied about a lot of this stuff too.
Bits and pieces all the way through.
Years, well, 7, 8 years before it ever happened, he was prophesying this stuff. And about Donald Trump, about
Right.
all kinds of stuff. And, he was a right-on prophet. I mean,
Right.
I don't know anything that he said that what didn't come to pass.
If anybody wants to read this after a while, this is like 6 pages that was put together by the generals, high-ranking officers that approached Trump before he not only was elected, but before he said he would run.
Right.
And it's full of all this stuff we just was talking about. But they filled him in ahead of time. So he's got a job to do. He's not finished with that job yet, that's for sure, but he's sure done a lot.
Yes, he has.
Because we didn't need another politician, we needed a businessman.
That's right.
But if anybody wants to read it, it's a really good read, but
For this revival
is,
to come forth, this holy revival to come forth, things like this have to happen. The kingdom of the enemy has to be taken down.
Well, and we have underestimated the level of restoration that God has for us.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
I
when
agree.
He's showing us that he loves the United States,
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
that he hasn't given up on the United States, that he
Yes.
hasn't given up on us.
Thank God.
Right.
Okay.
it's amazing.
I want to take another little break before I get into my 2019 prophecies.
Yeah.
So we can take a little break, but I would bring the offering box out here first. Would you, John, bring it to the table out here first? And let's just take that up, and then we'll take another little break, and then I'm gonna read some stuff out of the
Sandy,
good old
Yes.
biblical book,
I need to ask you a
Numbers.
question.
Okay, 1 second.
I thought that was good, the word turnaround. A lot of prophets have been using that word,
Mhm.
turnaround.
And back to the original organic Constitution, not what they want to water it down to be.
The pure constitution.
Exactly. So here we go. We got another righteous man on the Supreme Court, which we needed. Oh, he, Black.
Do you guys mind if we, kinda get into
Blackwelder.
some joy
Couldn't say
here?
his name.
Kevin Pat,
Marty Blackwell. This is kind of watching. He's trying to sing. He's drunk, so drunk he can't even sing. It's funny. Look at him. He's cracking me up. He was here a couple years ago. Up here. He tries so hard. He can't get it out.
Show this to me before.
I love this. These guys are going dancing back there. Look at him. Now, this is a long time ago. About 40 years ago.
He's trying. He's trying.
He's trying. Yeah, he's trying, but he can't do it. It's so funny. I love it. Okay, he's trying. Try that another time, you can't get it out. I'm going to do it. It's so funny. You keep trying. It's so funny. Oh my God. Look at those guys that are laughing like crazy too. He's like he's trying to start his engine. Look at him, there he goes. There he goes. There he goes, man. Let's get the pig out first. Woo! These guys are falling over each other. That is so funny. Oh gosh.
Is that one minute?
Oh yeah, this is Kenneth Hagin's. So funny. You wait till you see the guy jumps up flat-footed up onto the pulpit and then jumps over into the baptismal tank. Remember that?
I just talked to
I've
somebody
seen that one
last
before, I
night
remember.
where the pastor got up and you heard a few boys
Yep.
walked clear to the back of the church.
Yeah. Yeah. He's trying. That is Kenneth Hagin just sitting there.
so there's
He's finally getting it out. He's fine. I love it. There he goes.
So he's singing.
Marty Blackwelder.
Yes.
He was here 2 years ago. This is 40 years ago. He's my age. Oh, he is my age. He's trying. And them guys over there cracking. That's right.
Look
The
at
guy's
that guy.
running. Bring it on. Give me a double dose.
Oh, anybody else want some?
You know, he hands the mic to about 10 different people It says close the meeting.
Oh, I remember
That's
that.
funny.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah, you take it.
Yeah, you take it. Every time they get it, in about a minute. I'm gonna
I don't want that much.
And if he gets to his son, his son, oh no, not me. That's so funny.
There was a guy that came to take care of my furnace. He came over and I asked him where his little church at. I said, I want to come see you. And so I went over and he got hit by the Holy Ghost and he started just running across that church. I was like, oh, wait a minute.
I don't think he was like, yeah, they're all back on.
I love the shaking. I was at Trisha King's once. I saw someone
I think this is where he
there
starts getting,
that
trying
it
to
was
get
like
the
a
close
full
meeting.
team. I mean,
He gets everybody to take the mic. It's so fun. Look at that
I
place.
mean, I'm not talking about fancy
Isn't it?
people, like this.
No, but it's
Not like
still.
that. I mean, like,
I know.
one of the
And
craziest
see, he threw the
things,
mic.
and I
He
found
threw it
out
back there.
that
He threw it
wherever
to
this
him.
person went to church is their whole church.
Maybe this is the end of it. Oh, this is Brownsville.
And
No.
when it started happening, they're
Anyway,
throwing over all
I like
the
it.
chairs. There's
To watch you
nothing
guys, the stutter, they can't talk. I tell you what I like to see is that guy that came was a critic. Rodney Howard Brown from St. Louis. That was awesome. He couldn't even talk. He was so funny. Oh, no, you're here. This is funny. I like him too. He was at Ren's twice. Well, honey, where we from? That's a good one. Honey, where we from? John Kilpatrick.
I was there.
There she goes. Woo! She can't help herself, huh? She got to dance. Got to do a little jig here.
That wasn't a little dude.
No, that was whatever you want to call it. It was some kind of a jig.
That's a hair snapping.
Yeah, she lost her bun and it came down. I've seen some of them do that.
Yeah. That's for the Quakers.
That's
So,
got
yeah.
Holy Ghost.
It's hilarious. They all get in seats. and they
I
go,
know
"This
it.
is
That is so funny.
like, we're gonna look dignified.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's why you need to see that one with the guy that comes to Rodney Howard Brown's from. He was a critic, and he didn't want to bring his people. He was afraid that what would happen, and he was a real critic, and man, he couldn't talk. I mean, he literally he was gibberish and everything else. He just that's the funniest thing I've seen.
My favorite thing about Benny Hinn was when he would raise his hand
Yeah.
and throw the power out to the crowd, and rows of people
Oh yeah.
would just be overcome by the power.
It was funny, I think a few years ago, I went to see him in Louisville, Kentucky, and he laid hands on everybody in the place. He did, and it was just really weird. Didn't feel anything that day. That next day, I was walking through my house, and I just fell on the floor.
Yeah.
I couldn't, I mean,
Yeah,
it was just like,
yeah.
I couldn't even get up. It was like, oh my God, okay. and I could not get up.
For
Yeah.
how long?
Probably about an hour. I think I was on the floor for about an hour. But it was just like that, you know, it's like you would go and you expect to feel something then, but that delayed reaction. It was just the Holy Ghost hitting you right at that moment in time. It was just amazing.
When Bob went to Rodney Howard Brown's, Rodney came over, prayed for him. Bob said he fell back about 5 rows or something. Fell back, blacked out. Out.
Yeah.
And didn't wake back up for like 4 hours or something.
I've done that before. I've done
Well,
that
I've seen
twice.
that many times. It's never happened to me, but I've seen it a lot,
Oh, man.
several times.
Whoa, she's going all everywhere. That's the one that was. She's going nuts. Yeah, she's going to drown them all. You're right. Dang. Yeah, splash water on each other. Have some fun. That's celebration, man. Brownsville, yeah.
Better watch that water, it's hot.
Next. Nicole. Team challenge. Wendy. Oh, preach it, girl. Come on. Oh, boy, she told him, you stupid. If you don't know God, you stupid.
Oh, I was gonna put that,
Deb, I wanted to tell you something. I remember
the music.
that when we had that party this afternoon.
She
She
was
has a
there.
gunshot
On us
in
here.
Cloverville.
Can't control these fish out the water. Flipping around like a
You know who it is?
dog or something, man.
I missed
Yeah.
Have you met
Did
him?
I missed those things
Did you? Oh yeah, right. Missed it. I know what
in
you're
the
saying.
service.
Yeah, that's crazy stuff. Wow, crazy, huh?
No, it's awesome.
Crazy good.
The
That's
church
what
has
I'm saying.
dignified itself out
Oh,
of
brother.
some good stuff.
I got
Yes,
the super.
yeah.
I don't want to
Before
fall
before
down.
you go on tonight, make a little
Yeah.
prayer over the offering.
Yes, absolutely.
Here, we can turn this off, guys, or pause. Sorry. To be continued. It was brought to my attention, it's so funny, because, you know, I was wanting to say when I released this revelation on the finances, about us as a ministry and the money that comes in, we do tithe. We've messed that up in the past, but brought it back around to the Lord, because I wanna be right with God and in this, in where we're headed, and it'll only be, you know, we need to be the giver in the way that, and that's just a trusting thing too. So we tithe to Apostle Rennie, our spiritual father's ministry. And what's on our radar right now is we also are giving offerings, and we set a smaller amount to Sid Roth, which he has the book, They Thought for Themselves, and he gets that out to, also he has the television channel in Jerusalem.
He's definitely attracted to
He's
you,
used
Nina.
to me being over there too. He's not shy,
I'm shy. What are you talking about?
So we sow there, and also we sow, and we have not made this connection yet, and I want to connect with Patricia King on rescuing the children from sex trafficking. So there's just different things about that. Now, Pat brought something up really good, because we have an understanding, and I don't have the paper here tonight, but a comparison of 501c3 to 508, which is just by the very nature of being the church. The bullet points, we have a list of bullet points of why and how we operate the way we do. Now, obviously, we're not $1 million ministry.
Yep.
And
That's right.
there's
Thank
big
you.
ones up there that are like the 501c3.
That's right.
All that's gonna be changing anyway, but
Yes,
we
it is.
are in a legal way under 508. We can write receipts, you know, but that's not saying that they come in and control everything we teach or say.
Well,
And
and
it's
that's
not
another
calling
thing
us,
about,
yeah.
okay,
The government
whole-
always has authority. It
That's-
doesn't matter what structure you set it up in.
okay.
There's no way around that. I mean, you cannot set up a structure and they'll still say you're a structure at LLC.
Well, I
Right,
don't
so-
mean, I
Right.
don't mind, we do have an LLC, by the
Yeah,
way.
we are an LLC.
We do have
That's-
No, I'm just
we are
saying.
for profit. I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
but that's all starting, we're in the midst of all this transition.
Yeah.
That is
Right,
even changing.
right, so.
But they have in the past, and that's why they use the IRS under the Fed to come after these people, you know, because they can threaten them, throw them in jail,
right.
fine them, all that stuff. It's like, is it worth it? You
Well,
know?
at this point, I just wanted everyone to know that we tithe, that
Oh,
we, you know, we've messed up in the past, and we've been tithers, but we give, you know, even during the feast times, and we give everywhere and anywhere a lot. with people that, you know, God says this or that or whatever, you know, to this person or that person. So we do that as well, and so, I just wanted to share that. I'm gonna try to find those papers. I'll give you one, John, so you can see what it is too, but,
it's just a comparison chart between 501c3 and 508. I'm not saying that makes us above any law about
No,
that.
No,
we
that's
don't
what-
wanna
I was
be-
trying to agree with you guys.
Yeah, I don't wanna be.
Yeah.
I was just saying that, look, there's
Yeah.
no way around that.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not making any kind of judgment on any church that is in 501c3, but I'm glad we are not because of the fact that
They just haven't known
what-
any better.
right. And not only that, but I'm just thinking about men and Marines, okay? They came here 20 years ago from England. They didn't have a choice.
That's
If
right.
they wanted to function in the United States, they had to become citizens. You see what I'm saying? So in that sense, so the only bad thing about a 501c3, and when I say that, is what it goes to.
Yes.
The monies go to,
Yes.
and you have no right in say
Yes.
whether it does or doesn't. I mean, they go to Planned Parenthood. It goes to a lot of things that abortions, all that stuff.
Yes.
But isn't that the same case with our individual taxes?
And what now?
No,
What's the difference?
Between what? What did you say?
individual
Individual
taxes.
taxes.
I don't know about that.
No,
Because the 501c3, the profitability is not taxed. It's not.
however,
It's only the income that is paid to the individuals within.
Right.
So the reason, like, you make a decision on one organization or another is you have to decide what has the better protections and what things are you worried about
Exactly.
with all
with
that.
501c3, there's a 40-page just for churches. It tells you can't preach about homosexuals, you
I
cannot,
know there's a lot of that.
Preach about-
They have that if they, for their insurance policy, so to speak, to come
they're telling you
after.
what you
Right.
can do and what
So
you
that
can't
would be a
do.
reason definitely
Right.
not to do it.
Oh, absolutely.
But
That's
I'm
what I'm
just saying
saying.
the tax thing, I mean,
To me, about the tax thing, if you're giving to God, okay, you're giving to God. Everybody in the workman's worthy of a hire. Why should we expect a kickback from the government when we're giving to God?
Yeah,
See what I'm saying? That's the
Yeah,
part I don't.
Exactly.
That's the part I. If you want, me to give you a receipt, I can do it. But I'm not a 501c3. You see what I'm saying? I can still give you a receipt, but then you'll have to take that and deal with the IRS yourself. Because then you got it, and I can give you a receipt, but that doesn't prove that we're a 501c3.
no,
It just means you have to go in there and deal with in other words, they can come back on you down the road is what I'm saying.
There's
IRS
a
and all that.
sovereignty, by the very nature of being the church, it's recognized that Jesus Christ is the head of the church,
Is this
and it's on the constitutional law and the 1800s law books. It's never been removed. Oh, it is on.
Anyway.
Dear Lord.
Okay,
you can have it,
I got a
right?
couple pages here I want to just, that I forgot about. There's a time schedule of things that are happening that I was talking about a little bit ago. The 70,000 indictments that's been ready to be released since October of 2017. That's what just happened. 1,000 of them just happened this last week. Now, many more are happening. I was going to say this too. The IG, okay, of each department of government, okay, the FBI, DOJ, whatever. Excuse me. They have already been arresting thousands of people. But it's from the bottom going up in positions, you know what I'm saying? So I have seen, I pulled up some things, and so November the 30th, the indictments were served at George W. Bush's funeral. We talked about that by envelope, okay? December the 15th, the mass arrests started. December the 21st, the government political shutdown began. Also, December 21st, the 2 prison barges I talked about, the people, the 1,000 that was already arrested, are on its way to getting all. And December 24th was the formal beginning of the release of the GCR. That's cool. December 28th, now, I can't prove this, I'm just going by, but there's a lot of people and places on the internet you can look. But they're saying Bill, Hillary, and Barack Obama are already all arrested on the 28th. 29th, the 1,000 of the 70 were unsealed, including Clinton, Comey, Lynch, and Reed.
Yes.
So
Cha-ching.
these, well, they gotta reap what you sow, and we still pray for their salvation, but that doesn't mean you still got restitution to do, you know, to the public. The 29th, again, December 29th, General Mattis was headed to Gitmo to receive the intake of those barges. The 30th, new global trading year begins. Interesting. Yep. January 1st is supposed to be the release publicly that we will hear of the U.S. Republic as being restored.
That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow. And that's what I want to hear President Trump talking about, this good stuff. Also on the 1st, central banks are eliminated. And the flat tax is implemented. There's a whole bunch I didn't read to you, but instead of being the tax structure that we got, this has been in plans for months and months. That, remember the postcard size?
I was gonna say, you can file your
Postcard,
taxes on a
yes,
postcard.
Yeah.
right. But also in that is that there is no tax on like used cars, used houses, any of that. No taxes at all. When you buy a house, you don't have to pay, you know what I'm saying, at closing, you don't have to do any of that. There's only a 17% tax on a brand new home. No tax on food or medicine. That's good stuff.
Yes, it is.
Good stuff.
Yes.
So just saying, there's a lot of awesome, good things coming up. It's December the 29th that the Federal Reserve and the IRS were eliminated by Trump's executive order. So that's cool. The martial law thing, we just have to see how that plays out, but we've had martial law before.
Yep.
The 3rd, January 3rd, Congress not expected to return because the government shut down.
Yeah.
And pending arrest of 1/3 or more congressional members named in over 70,000 sealed indictments. January 3rd. Throughout history, the cabal had been controlling votes of a great number of politicians through blackmail of the pedophilia, the satanic worship, money laundering activities. These illegal acts were organized through satanic worship global elites who run an international gun running, drug dealing, child exploitation rings called the Ninth Circle Child Sacrifice Cult. Now think about that. That's crazy stuff. But
God help us.
the Ninth, yeah, the Ninth Circle.
I heard a whistleblower that was part of the Dutch bank, that was up in the height of all that, and he stopped at sacrificing the children.
Oh, yeah.
But, he was definitely a whistleblower. I'm surprised he's actually still alive.
I know, that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of people that
But because he didn't mention that maybe there was a rule where he couldn't mention Jesus Christ in the, but he explained. And when I heard his testimony, it really brought more of a reality, like, you know, that this is actually going on.
I didn't even know that there were still children sacrificed
Oh,
like that.
oh, Vatican City underneath is, you'd be surprised the catacombs down there.
I
Well,
know.
because they serve Lucifer.
If you're a Satan worshiper, just think about it. When we worship the Lord, we glorify Him. Paul says there's some things you don't even talk about,
Exactly.
okay? And it's, you can just, you don't even want to use your imagination.
So I was watching a like history documentary on Hitler, and he went and had you know in the Bible where it talks about Jesus says, "I know where your throne is, Satan." He went and had that, got it, and he was
Absolutely.
using it
I know.
as his pulpit.
They
Yeah.
moved it around.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
The pulpit, Lucifer's pulpit.
Yep.
Right,
Yep.
right. It was, he had it when he was up there giving those speeches to the masses.
That's
That was
why I'm
Lucifer's
saying,
pulpit.
that's why I'm saying
Up there.
the hypnotism that went on is what I
Right.
think.
It's in Europe now, right?
Yeah, I think it
That's
is.
better.
I think it's in like a museum or something.
I've never heard of that.
Okay, the Ninth Circle Child Sacrifice Cult that was organized by the Vatican.
There's Timothy.
Now get this. The Ninth Circle sacrifice cult that was organized by the Vatican, that was funded by the British monarchy through the central bank's use of the U.S. taxpayers' dollars and enforced by various mafias. Of course, we don't have anything directly in that, but it's kind of sad to think what they've enslaved us in too many ways. You know what I'm saying? So, thousands would be arrested, though their pedophilia charges wouldn't necessarily be made public. Their indictments showing other charges like treason, fraud, embezzlement, racketeering, and sedition, and or murder. Whew, that's all going to happen on the 3rd. Here's another one for the December 29th. The first of the 70,000 indictments was unsealed, charging Hillary Clinton and 40 other global elites such as James Comey, Harry Reid, with murder, wrongful prosecution, abuse of powers, treason against the people of the United States. These also include Loretta Lynch, many crooked FBI agents, U.S. attorneys, many judges, magistrates, even local and state police. I mean, see, it filters down to.
But who issues all the indictments? Is it the president?
Well, he brought back 365. No, that's for the military tribunals. Judges. He brought back all these judges and the military that had been retired. He brought all them back too. They're the ones that's doing all this.
So they're all going. 70,000 people are going to go to court.
Oh, yeah.
Over a period of what? 10 years?
Oh, no. A lot of this stuff.
The
See, when they
military
have
tribunals, they go.
they're quick.
They're
Fast?
quick. Yes, I've been through one. When I was in the service, I was on medical leave,
Uh-huh.
or convalescent leave.
Uh-huh.
The doctor and your commanding officer is not supposed to be able to trump that. Well, my commanding officer put me down as being AWOL. And the police and MPs come and pick me up for being AWOL. And so they did an Article 15, which you go through a military tribunal. And I said, look, here's my convalescent leave. And they looked at my commander and they said, how can you be with this? And it was over before it began.
Exactly.
So it goes
They're
very,
very
very
serious,
fast.
very
Right.
serious. It's
And it
facts,
doesn't take
facts,
long.
facts.
See, if you already have an indictment,
Yeah.
then, see, that's already proof. And then when they present the proof
Really?
in a court setting, oh yeah,
That's all they have to have. Yeah.
yeah. So anyway,
They already
okay.
have all the facts.
These judges, attorneys, magistrates, local and state police, many of these were connected to the Uranium One deal with Obama and Clinton. Think about that. Also, orders to the FBI and local law enforcement to end, remember this, guys? The Bundy Ranch case. Do you remember that?
No.
I remember Bundy.
Ranch case.
Was he held up in his house?
Okay, the Bundy Ranch case was settled with violence, and it came straight from the White House, Obama and Clinton.
There you go. That's it. Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anyway, and then there's so many different things we talk about. I mean, the farmers' bills and all this stuff that they need to pay back. It's so massive. But anyway, that's that. All right, I want to get back to move on. Prophetic words. I had a visitation on the 24th.
Christmas Eve.
Christmas
Eve.
Yeah, it was Christmas Eve morning, the 23rd, 24th, overnight. But I want to read a couple things here.
Can I pet you that way?
You pet me like a dog.
I want to rub his nose.
This is interesting because the numbers next year are 2019.
Okay.
Number 20 means redemption.
Hallelujah.
Now, isn't that interesting?
Hallelujah.
So this millennial, well, this century anyway, which leads up through the millennial, is about redemption. I think that's so cool.
Amen.
So the number 20 is found 288 times in the Bible, and it stands for redemption. The males, now this is good. The males of the children of Israel had to offer a ransom for their souls at the age of 20. I heard that, but I forgot all about that until I read this other day. In connection with this ransom, 20 gerahs were mentioned. It's an amount of money. The money that was given for the ransom was silver money. Silver is a symbol of redemption. Silver money was used to make the 100 silver sockets in the tabernacle. This is really interesting. And the silver fillets and hooks for the pillars of the court. The reader will find this in Exodus 38. This connects the number 20 with redemption and the silver with redemption. There were 20 boards on each side of the tabernacle, north and south. The number 20 is used in describing the boards for each side, but both north and south. The silver sockets were also mentioned in connection with each side. This shows forth a twofold redemption, a redemption for the body and a redemption for the soul. That's cool.
Yes.
The same thing is pictured in the 20 pillars of the silver fillets and the hooks on the south and the north side of the court of the tabernacle. The same is said about the north side. Here are the 20 pillars with their 20 silver fillets and the 20 silver hooks on each side of the court, south and north. The fillets and hooks being made of the silver that was given in redemption. Here again, the number 20 and silver are connected with redemption. The length of the court, it talks about so much. This teaches that as many as receive the redemption of their souls will also receive the redemption of their bodies. Whom he justifies, them he also glorifies. The glorified equals the justified. This is the will of him that sent me, that everyone who sees the Son and believeth on him may have everlasting life, and I will raise him up at the last day. There's a whole lot more here. I don't want to read it all, but so this whole thing about redemption is for the millennium, the 2000. Then 19, so 20 is redemption, and 19 is faith. 19 is number of faith. There are 19 different persons referred to in Hebrews 11, faith chapter. While the name of Joshua is not mentioned in verse 30, yet Joshua was the leader of Israel at the overthrow of Jericho. The list is as follows. Through faith, in Hebrews it says, we, Hebrews 11:1, verse 4, Abel, verse 5, Enoch, verse 7, Noah, Abraham, verse 8 to 10, Sarah, verse 11, Isaac, verse 20, Jacob, verse 21, Joseph, verse 22, Moses, verse 23 and 29, Joshua, verse 30. It goes on and on and on. The prophets is in verse 32. It's a whole list of the faith in Hebrews 11. Now look at this, and at the number under which each occurs. Moses is the 10th. 10 is the number that represents the law. And the law was given to Moses. Abel is found in number 2, which is the number of division. It is said that he offered a more excellent sacrifice than Cain. This led to division between him and Cain. Enoch is found in number 3, the number for resurrection, the divine number. Enoch's translation foreshadows the translation of the living saints at the rapture. Noah is the 4th mention, and the number 4 is the number for the world. I mean, it's really interesting stuff. Which was destroyed in Noah's time. Abraham is listed under number 5, which represents grace. He and his seed are to be heirs by grace. Jacob, who is the number 8, which is the number for the new birth, was the second born of twins. This represents the second birth, or the new birth. There's so much, I don't want to keep reading it forever, but this thing's got a lot in it. It really brings so much out. So we're talking about redemption and faith. Yeah, redemptive faith. That's good the way to put it. And then 30, I told you that earlier, Pat.
Yes.
So 30 is the blood of Christ and dedication. So I thought that was interesting.
Awesome.
So the words for 2019. First of all, the thing that the Lord impressed with me when I got up the first time was Isaiah. Isaiah 43. You all know that's a good chapter, right?
Yes.
It all is.
It all is, you're right. Can't miss that. Isaiah 43, verse 18. Now get this. Verse 43, Isaiah 43, verse 18. verse 18 for 2018. You got me?
Yep.
Do not earnestly remember the former things,
Oh my gosh, I got that.
neither consider the things of old.
Mm.
Isn't that cool?
Mm-hmm.
So that's 2018. Then 2019, verse 19. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive and know it? And will you not give heed to it? I will even make a way in the wilderness and the rivers in the desert.
Amen.
Mm.
Some good stuff. I like
Yes.
that.
Rivers.
Rivers, yes.
Yeah.
Now, these are the words he gave me from 333 to 633. He just gave me like bullet points. First 3 months of 2019 will be shaky ground.
Mm.
Everything that can be shaken will be shaken. That's Hebrews 12, verse 27 to 29.
Necessary.
Yes, very necessary. I wrote this down this way because I had been doing all this studying, in the last recent time.
Hey,
If you understand about, yes,
can I record this? I'm sorry.
sure, I don't know.
Okay.
Can you back up a little
I
bit?
wanted to get that first point. Yeah, sorry.
It's all right.
Alright. I got it.
We ought to be able to, sometime be able to send a link to this video, and people can just pick out what they want to see.
Except we forgot to turn it off during, never mind, the break.
Anyway,
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah.
so the first 3 months of 2019 will be shaky ground. Everything that can be shaken will be shaken. Hebrews 12, 27 through 29.
Sorry, can you
Then-
actually go back and say that verse, the 2019 verse?
Oh, yeah, sure. 2019 verse was, Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive and know it? And will you not give heed to it? I will even make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. And then, of course, 2018 was, don't remember the former things. Let's get into the new things of God.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the second bullet point he gave me, you understand when we said about the Federal Reserve and the IRS. The Federal Reserve and the IRS came under a corporation. Federal Reserve is a corporation. It's nothing to do with the federal government. It's a corporation. It's like a company, a corporation.
Private owner.
Yeah. And the point of that is they took out 10 square miles in Washington, D.C., which is supposed to be the area only that it's supposed to be used for that, which they used everything. But the reason I say that, they made up the Constitution, okay, of the United States of America. It's not supposed to read that way. It's not the way the Republic reads. It's supposed to be the Constitution for the United States. That one little word made everything go south, so to speak. So he gave me the second bullet point was, the United States for America will have their republic back and intact as the organic original Constitution was installed.
Amen.
That was the second thing. And then I gave this to you one day on the prayer line, Pat. And isn't it interesting? I always get up. Remember my time I get up at?
3:33.
Jeremiah 33:3, which says, Call to me, and I will answer you and show you great and mighty things, fenced in and hidden. Fenced in and hidden. Why?
Protected.
Yeah, but there's a scripture in Psalms, the Proverbs, that says he seals
Oh, yeah.
things, and it's
For the time.
for the kings to search out.
Yeah.
So mighty things fenced in and hidden, which you do not know and do not distinguish and recognize and have knowledge of and understand yet.
Yeah.
I put together there. But see,
Yeah.
that I like it because you don't distinguish and recognize or have knowledge of and understand. How do you get understanding? You get understanding from revelation.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool? See what I'm saying? It's like, wow. So remember I gave you that, and then I gave you 2 Corinthians. The famous 2:9 and 10. For this was my purpose in writing to you to test your Whoa.
2, 9, and 10.
I didn't know I wanted that.
2 Corinthians.
Oh, maybe it's first. 1 Corinthians. But on the contrary, as the scripture says, what eye has not seen, and ear has not heard, and has not entered into the heart of man, all that God has prepared and made and keeps ready. He makes and keeps ready for those who love him, who hold him in affectionate reverence, promptly obeying him. I like that. Promptly obeying him,
Yes,
and gratefully recognizing the benefits he has bestowed. Yet to us, God has unveiled and revealed them by and through his Spirit, for the Holy Spirit searches diligently, exploring and examining everything, even sounding the profane and bottomless things of God, the divine counsels and things hidden and beyond man's scrutiny. That's some good stuff. I'll take all that.
Amen.
Amen.
And then the third verse that he gave me in that was, we all know it, Galatians 6:9. And let us not lose heart and grow weary and faint in acting nobly and doing right. In acting nobly and doing right, for in due time and at the appointed season we shall reap, if we do not loosen and relax our courage. The only reason you faint is you lose your courage.
you get fear.
That's the opposite side. If you don't have courage, then you have fear. It's all by degrees, I'm sure. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, wow. So there's three things. Those three scriptures just, it's like he said, that's it. This is 2019. It's coming on me. I said, I'll take it.
Amen.
Why did God flood the earth? Remember? To save the bloodline of Jesus to come. Why did the European elites of the 13 families breed their bloodlines? To copy God's original plan, to have a purely evil bloodline intact. Isn't that crazy? But that's, I mean, we just read about this, the ninth circle of the Satanist, blah, blah, you know? But that's what they did.
Priestess.
Yeah, it's crazy. Now, 2 years ago, here's another, these are just things he gave me, prophetic things, but it's like, it's applying to this next year. 2 years ago, God told me, he said, even before Jesus had his Judas, the Father said, I had my Lucifer. So if they both had a traitor amongst them, so the United States, we got a bunch of traitors. But that, think about that even in the sense of ministries. We went through the last few years, we've had a couple, three that, you know, kind of turned. Bless them, bless them, bless them.
Yes.
Why did Samson keep failing God? I mean, this is crazy. This is how he's talking to me. I'm writing this stuff down.
Right.
Why did Samson? Yeah, for the same reason Lucifer did. Pride in his own flesh ability.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, because Samson was so strong.
Yes.
And I watched that movie. I don't know. I shared it with somebody. I watched that movie a while back. I'll tell you what, that is an eye opener. The way that it was depicted
Yes.
is really awesome. It really was.
Yes, it was.
So,
Especially the part when he went out the first time he started war with the father's sons, when the son sent the guards out to go get him or kill him.
yeah.
And he sat up there and there's like thousands of men just
Thousands?
piled up.
With the
Samson's
jawbone
on
or
the
the
top of
donkey?
it
Yeah.
with the bone.
Yeah,
That is
think
an
about
awesome movie. That really was.
The
I'll tell
part
you-
that really struck me, I'm sorry, but the part that really struck me on that movie, you know how you guys have always said this throughout your ministry on how you approach God in the throne room? When the father told the son, he said, when it comes to, he said, yes, I am your father, but when it comes to matters of the crown, you will address me as king.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, and then not only did Samson, or then after I saw Samson, I saw David and Goliath. That was interesting because it came from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Prophet Samuel trained, okay, David with his 3 men, warriors, and that was a new perspective because he was a shepherd. What did he know about war? That's, I mean, it made sense. They trained him. so I thought that was interesting, but you know, I also found out and thought about that movie. Samson also had to kill a giant.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool? I mean, I just thought about, isn't this a predecessor of the other one? Okay, next thing he said, what would have happened if Hitler would have not had a burning bush, if Hitler would have had a burning bush experience? I'm just, this is just stuff that came to me. I thought, damn. And so I started praying for Hillary and Obama. I'm serious, I did. I mean,
I pray for Hillary all the time.
so, and again, next thing I said, how about Hillary or Obama or any of the Satanist worshipers? They're just totally deceived, that's all.
Absolutely.
Totally deceived.
Absolutely.
And man, when I saw that movie of Saul Paul,
Oh, yeah.
that blew me away. I mean, can you imagine him saying, I've done no man wrong?
Yeah.
How many did you kill? You didn't do them wrong. You know what I mean? It's like, dang, I don't want you to do me no wrong. That's pretty, anyway. The Church of Jesus Christ needs more prayer and more prayers in tongues. I mean, it's just what he told me. I just wrote them down. And by the way, I get a sentence, I go in the bathroom, write it all down, and I wait, give me something else, and he wouldn't. I go lay back down, and in 5 seconds, then he'd give me another thing. And it happened like 30-some times. It's like, what? He works with everybody different. Come on, baby, you calm down. You calm down, baby. Next thing he says, man without God or even with religious beliefs would say everything that they do and they think is right unto themselves. You know what I mean? And I'm going to read it. It is a scripture I looked at. That's why I was taking time to look these up after the next day after you told me all this. Proverbs 21, verse 2 and 3. Every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but the Lord weighs and tries the hearts.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
To do righteousness and justice is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice.
Yes.
So, I mean, you can't go wrong with the word. And it said, any religious person can misinterpret Holy Spirit's intention of any scripture to fit their cause.
Yes.
Personal interpretation.
Yeah. 2019 will begin a new era or dispensation of restoration. I like that. A new dispensation of restoration for families, and raise up a child in the way they go, and when they grow old, they will not depart from it. 2019 will be a year of many epiphanies and angelic visitations and visits from the Father.
Amen.
I'm telling you.
Come on.
And visits from the fourth man in the fire. And visits from Holy Spirit to show you things to come. That's what he told me. That's interesting. We get the Father, we get Jesus, we get the Holy Spirit. I said, I'll take some of that too.
Amen.
And the Father said to me to allow him to let his revelation unfold to me on his timetable, not mine, and be patient and full of grace.
Yes.
I'm trying, Lord. I know it. But that's what he told me. Then he said, he reminded me that the bigger the call, the longer the process of preparation that is needed.
Yes.
He said, didn't Moses and Jesus have the enemy try to kill them at or right after their birth? And right beside that, I wrote out there, and even abortion.
Oh, yeah.
Because in my case, my mom and my grandmother took my mom while I was in her womb to the abortion clinic. And she's going to have an abortion. And my mom would not say no to nobody about nothing, no who, no how, no way. No way. But she stood up and said no and ran out, and she wouldn't talk to my grandmother, her mom, for several years after that. And they wouldn't speak. So all I can do is thank God for that. Because that's the point, that, they want to kill off the apostles and prophets, especially the apostles and prophets. And what Cindy was talking about, if they can't get you before birth, I guarantee the Jezebels are going to come after you later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, count on it, right. So, he said, didn't I prophesy to you 10 many times that I called you to be a father to the fathers, and apostle to the apostles, and prophet to the prophets? Paul said, you have many teachers, but not many fathers. 1 Corinthians 4, 15 and 16. And a neat example, and I was thinking about this, I told Cindy about it the next day or two, but think about Todd Benton. His life, he had went to many, many nations, had miracles, signs, and wonders.
Yes.
And then here he was, he has his wife and 2 children, he's from Canada, they live in Canada, he went all these nations, and he went down to Lakeland, Florida, had this long, extended tent revival, and fell with the worship leader. Got divorced, but thank God for Rick Joyner,
Yes, amen.
because Rick restored him.
Yes.
But when during the restoration, Todd made an awesome comment, and he said, Rick helped me, father me through it, but he said if it wasn't for inner healing, I wouldn't be back in ministry.
That's right.
And he says everybody in my ministry will always get inner healing before I ever send them out.
Amen.
So that made a believer out of him.
Amen.
But before that, he said, no, counseling, there's no such thing. You no need for counseling and no need for inner healing. That's why he ended up.
He's in a good place right now.
Yes,
The
he
Lord-
is.
The Lord's shown me that repeatedly
He
in
is.
dreams recently.
That's good.
So,
I'm
and the
excited.
Lord doesn't care what happened in someone's past.
Look at
where their-
David.
That's
Where their
right.
present
Look at
heart
David.
is.
That's right.
Yeah, so,
I mean, that he
I mean,
just brought me
that was
through.
about as big a message you
Oh
could
yeah,
make.
but look at him now.
That's
See?
right.
Yeah.
But if Rick Joyner hadn't helped,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
He would have been gone, he would have been.
He
But
wouldn't be in
God-
ministry.
God-
He was gone.
God gave Rick Joyner a dream that his own son had fallen in a ditch and nobody would help him.
Oh.
So, you know, that makes it pretty personal.
Yeah.
When the Lord gives you a direct dream. And then he helped Jim Baker too.
Yeah, he did.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So did Billy Graham help him.
Yeah. And then the next thing he said was 2019 will be a year that many will taste and see that the Lord is good, but also a year for multitudes will, for the first time ever, experience the fear of the Lord.
Amen.
Amen.
Oh.
This
I
is
think we all need that.
Yes.
absolutely.
Every one of us.
Isaiah, 11:2 talks about the
I think it's necessary.
7 spirits of God.
Yes, it is.
Even though angelic visitations, men fell at their feet as dead men under the kabod, the glory weight of God.
Should be a prerequisite.
Yeah, I agree. Because the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And if you, we all need more wisdom. I don't care how much we got. You know what I'm saying?
Amen.
And I think that whole thing about the angelic visitation, a lot of people are going to have angelic visitations, and when you have, it says, you entertain angels unaware sometimes, but when you really know that they're from the Lord, and they have the fear of the Lord on them, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I had heard a lot of people giving their testimonies about the fear of the Lord. He said, I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to
Yes.
physically, literally
Yes.
die.
Yeah.
I thought the angel was going to stab me with the sword or whatever,
Right.
Yes.
It's really,
Intense.
it's not, it's not this,
No,
boop.
I've
It's
had-
really,
I've had visitations from the spirit of the fear of the Lord,
that's something.
and I'm telling you, it will keep you from sinning. It says that in Proverbs.
Yes,
It'll keep you from
yes,
sinning.
that's right.
Because it's literally like I can hardly breathe. I'm being so careful right now not to make any wrong move.
Absolutely.
That's
That's
the type
what
of
that's what it brings. That's the fruit of it, by the way. That's
Yeah.
part of the fruit of that fear of the Lord, and that's a good thing.
So you got the fear of the Lord, then you have the love of the Lord. And I used to tell
Oh,
my
yeah.
inmates, I said, you don't sin because you don't want to break your daddy's heart.
Oh, yeah.
And because of the
Interesting.
love that you have for the Father. So the love you have and the fear that you have
True.
combined
It's
Yep,
true.
that's good.
makes
Yes.
you want to walk straight,
That's
Yes,
true.
it does. And I'm just saying, I know he told me, he said that there's going to be a lot of visitations and a lot of angelic visitations this next year. Now think about that. Well, why? Because there's so much lacking of the fear of the Lord.
Well,
Seriously.
the other night when when we were on the prayer line, and I said, I looked to my left expecting to see angels standing there.
Oh, yeah?
And I looked over and they weren't there, but they were there.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, I hear you just didn't
They
physically
didn't
see them.
manifest.
Yeah.
And what we're actually accomplishing is so advanced from where we have been. In order to maintain and to hold that ground, we are going to have to know how to work with the angels,
Amen.
how
Oh, yeah.
to work with wisdom
Yes.
in the atmosphere,
Yes.
and
Yep.
And understanding and revelation.
All of it.
right,
Yeah.
and all that's going to go together. It's all tied in with the fear of the Lord, but
Yes.
definitely working with the angels. We're going to need that.
I'm more patient than I thought.
You get 5 minutes.
There's the door. Gotcha. And then he brought back a scripture in Psalms that I've read so many times, but I think about David when I read all these Psalms, that, he went through a lot, but he also learned a lot. Psalms 118, 16 through 18. The right hand of the Lord is exalted, and the right hand of the Lord does valiantly, and it achieves strength. That's key.
Yeah.
Hang on. It achieves strength. It says, let the weak say I am strong.
Right.
The right hand of God equals deliverance. I wrote that in my Bible right there. It says the right hand of the Lord is exalted. The right hand of the Lord does valiantly, and it achieves strength. The right hand of the Lord is God's deliverance. I shall not die, but live,
Amen.
and shall declare the works and recount the illustrious acts of the Lord. Now that right there is a testimony. David's giving his testimony. I love it. But then he also, the very next verse says, the Lord has chastened me sorely, but he has not given me over to death. So that's really, and if you go on, it talks about, open to me the temple gates of righteousness, and I will enter in through them, and I will confess and praise the Lord, and go on and on about the gates of the Lord. So anyway, that's just another, these are things that came to me. A lot of them are prophetic words, but some of them are just, my testimony things that he gave me. But the word of the Lord came to try me. Remember that scripture? Many are called, but few are chosen.
Yep.
Your call will cost you everything
Yeah.
of your flesh life. Most Christians are stuck, and don't even come into their call because of the curse of Ephraim.
Curse of what?
Curse of Ephraim.
Explain.
I was going to read that too. I just write the scripture down. I forgot to write it down. It's in Jeremiah. This I got off of Doug Addison. He had a whole piece on it the other day. I want you guys to go back and just look it up. Go to his page. But the curse of Ephraim, I thought it was really interesting because I printed it off, but I don't know where it is.
Well, walk us through and let's break it off.
Well, think about it. Okay, who was Ephraim,
Joseph's son,
and who is his other son?
Manasseh.
Manasseh. Ephraim and Manasseh was Joseph's son. Who's Joseph's father was who?
Jacob.
Okay. Who was wait a minute. Joseph had Jacob come to bless his children, remember?
Right.
Well, remember he came and he had to switch his hands,
Yep.
Yes.
okay? But it wasn't the older son is the one that's supposed to get the blessing.
Right. No.
But his parents did the same thing, and it was, why can't I think of his name? Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
His who was it? Dang it, I can't remember who it was. Ephraim and Manasseh and Jacob and Esau. What am I
Right.
saying? Jacob and Esau. Same thing.
Like a generation.
That's the point. It's a generational curse. And so we just break that thing off right now. Because I think if you will
Break it off.
go and read,
The deceiver.
yeah, exactly, deceiver, the mischievous manipulator.
Yeah.
Anyway, go back and look it up in Doug Addison's, and it explains it pretty good. But it's a generational curse that keeps people and ministries from coming into the full release of the blessing.
Yeah.
So, anyway, wrote that down. All this stuff in the middle of the night is crazy. But anyway. 2019 is the birthing and release of Glory House Globetrotter Ministry. Time for lands, houses, and abodes. I'm just prophesying better than your amen. I'm just telling you right now. I really believe that this is it. And the first wave of the 7 waves of the transfer of the wealth of the righteous will be completed and released now. When is now?
Now.
Actually, we'll give it 3 or 4 hours maybe.
No.
Oh, okay, no, we'll start now. I'm sorry, I repent. But think about it.
Depends on what part of the country you're in.
Yeah.
So keep the baseball bat in the
Now I'm on
front
the East Coast, huh?
Take out your kneecaps.
Anyway. But,
You could be transported somewhere.
there you go. So,
Keep cursing.
but anyway,
Take out his kneecaps.
I call this first wave of the transfer of the wealth from the wicked to the righteous, the Joseph Company. And just stop and think about it. And what did Joseph do? Ecclesiastes. Okay, I'll go there. Oops, you're going in the right direction.
I'm not.
Okay. Ecclesiastes 9, 16, 16, 17. Okay. But I say that wisdom is better than might, though the poor man's wisdom is despised and his words are not heeded. The words of wise men heard in quiet are better than the shouts of him who rules among fools. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroys much good. Interesting. I say all that because there's another scripture that I think is down in here somewhere else. Nobody listens to a poor man. Proverbs again. They don't.
Why would they?
Exactly. You got to be a good example. So the Joseph Company are the ones. In fact, let me read that. That's good. Genesis. Thank you, Lord. You just reminded me of that scripture. Genesis. You all know this, of course, when I read it. Genesis 50:20. As for you, you thought evil against me, but God meant it for my good, to bring about that many people should be kept alive as they are this day. What was going on? What was going on there? Famine. What do you think is going to happen in the next 3 months? Just saying, people. Think about this. Everything we've been talking about. There's going to be some civil unrest. With how much or to what degree? Don't know. But I know he said the next 3 months there's going to be a great shaking.
That was the first thing he said.
Yeah, it was. And that's one of the things that happens. In fact, some of these other prophetic words that I was saying earlier, the last 9 days of this year and the first few days of next year, it's kind of a blackout on information of things, but the GCR has started. That, to me, is the Joseph Company. Now think about it. It said, what? To keep the people alive. We're in transition of getting rid of the Fed, getting rid of the IRS, getting our republic back, getting rid of the crooks in government. It won't happen overnight, but it don't have to take a long time. These tribunals, it's going to take forever, but it's going to take just a little while. And so there might be, well, look what happened back at the election. They're out there in the streets throwing Minoff cocktails and busting windows and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm sure there'll be some uprisings of whatever.
What was
to some
the
degree.
Hebrew New Beginning? It was what, 5779?
Yeah, that's
Was
this
the
year.
New Beginning?
Yeah.
That, yeah.
Anyway, to me, that's the Joseph Company. That's going to help those that aren't prepared yet to get through that process of that time period.
Well, where I was going with that was
Go ahead.
the new beginning when we stepped over from the Feast of Tabernacles,
Mhm.
the Feast of Festivals, trumpets. When we entered into 5779, the new beginning, wasn't that the start of hearing about all of these indictments coming out?
September.
Yeah, I think I already said it, but one of the things that's neat about this is 2019 is really going to be the year of Jubilee. You know, we've the last 2 years, we understand the timing, the 50th year, and letting the land lay for 7 years and all that stuff. But we all thought it was going to be the last 2 years. Well, it's really, the manifestation is finally catching up now. So 2019 is the manifestation of, bless you! Okay, of the blessings. Okay, worldwide revival release will begin before the end of 2019.
Amen.
I wrote it.
Amen.
Father's glory will return and even double fold before the end of the year.
Now, what was that again?
Which end of the year?
2019, that's right.
Hebrew?
No, this year.
Okay.
No, calendar year.
Calendar year?
2019.
Okay, because the
Calendar.
military
I know,
goes by
I know,
physical
I know.
year, by
Some
the
of them are
Jewish.
right. But the neat thing is, and I didn't pull it up, but I wrote a prophetic words 5 years ago maybe about the glory returning. That's it right there. The worldwide revival release will begin before the end of 2019. The Father's glory will return and even be double fold before the end of 2019.
Wow.
I believe that prophetic word I gave 5 years ago that's what this came from. To most Christians, it seems as if your call was delayed, but it wasn't. It just had to catch up with your character to match your gifting. Now think about that.
Say that again?
To most Christians, it seems as if your call was delayed, but it wasn't. It just had to catch up your character to match your gifting.
Yeah, come on.
You are on my timeline and in my process. I'm an example. Many people are. A lot of gifting at a young age, but not much character. I'm telling them the truth.
David.
Yeah. Truthful. I'm serious. It's the truth. And you know, you're better off, if you're going to get it, you're better off to get the character first and then the gifting.
Yeah.
Seriously. But the adversary wants you to do it the other way.
Yeah.
So he has a better chance of messing you up.
Yeah.
Do you remember what I asked you about 2 weeks ago? It says, does your
One of the 20 questions, what was it?
yes,
Which one?
is your character in the place that God has you for your calling?
Oh, I can say now, yeah. Pretty darn close, how's that? Not seriously, I think that's one of the things that we're finding ourselves at. Because, you know, there's no such thing as false humility or false pride. You either got pride or you got humility. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I know what we mean when we use those words, but you either got pride or you got humility. And that's one of the things that the older I get, the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know.
That's right.
I mean, truthfully, and if you don't say that about yourself, then look in the mirror and look out.
May I say you have
Lightning
been
bolt.
humbled? May I say you have been humbled?
Oh, and I think that's part of the process. Remember? Process is necessary. It's not fun, but it's necessary. But when you get the process done, then the fun begins.
That's right. But the way up is down.
There you go. Get on them knees. Absolutely, girl.
Humble too.
Well, I haven't. I'm
Are you
almost
getting
there.
to that?
Yeah, I'm on page 5. I got a few. I'm getting there. I'm trying. I know you all say I'm very trying, but I knew it'd come from over here. Peanut gallery.
Don't get in his face, okay? Okay.
For your safety, babe.
Yeah.
So he doesn't nip at your little nose.
Where did I stop?
Where'd you start?
Over here. Okay. So I finished up with, we need to get our character intact before we have the fullness of our gifting. I mean, it's just safer for everybody else as well as us. then it leaves less traps for the adversary to come and snare us with. So for the first time in the last 5 years, when Father God visited me, I didn't cry for all the 3 or 4 hours. I asked him why. Why is that, Lord? He said, it's because I have brought enough healing and deliverance and restoration to you since you were 7 years old, that now you know more of who you are and what your call is than ever before. He said, more, not know it all.
That's right.
You know more of who you are and what your call is than ever before. I have given you more of your identity, even though to you it took seemingly a lifetime. Yes, it did. But that, again, look at everybody in the Bible, every single one of them. None of them started at a young age.
Greater the calling, the longer the waiting.
You had to quote me, didn't you?
I got it on my bulletin board.
Oh, that's good. Come on. Get that stick out after that. Poke the bear. I was going to read that prophecy about the Father's glory has now returned, but I didn't find it. So he said, now you can withstand the persecution easier because of Angel Easy. I thought that was cool. So now I'm not suffering from as much insecurity and fears. Hello, hear my wording. I have not arrived, but I am doing better. And the persecution just rolls off like water from a duck's back. It makes me think of David and John the Revelator. You know?
Yeah.
The Lord showed me
Can you
that
explain
Glory
that?
House.
Huh? Can you explain that to me? That David and John the Revelator.
Well, Daniel had a lot of persecution for standing up for righteousness in front of, they tricked him and everything else, but he finally came out of it. John the Revelator, they boiled him and everything else, and he still lived. That's persecution, I'd say.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my
Boiled
God.
him 3
In oil.
times.
Boiled in oil.
Uh-huh.
Yes, sir. And he
Yeah,
didn't
they
die.
did.
That's why they had to put him on an island of
Oh,
Patmos.
that's right. Yeah.
They had to put him on an island of
when he had
Patmos
the
because he
revelation.
couldn't,
Yeah.
that's where he got all his revelations, but because they couldn't kill him,
Yeah.
and they didn't want anybody to talk to him because he had started up another movement.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with him? Exile him, put him on an island. So he had nobody to talk to, That's pretty cool. So, that's why I was saying, like Daniel.
And every time he came out of that boiling water, what would he say?
What was his
Little
phrase?
children, love one another.
Love it, there you go. Yeah. John, Epistle John,
Yeah.
2 and 3. The Lord showed me that Lord
Think
Hospital
about
Cottage
that.
will grow this year exponentially, and we would set in place many people and teams to train and eventually release, even ordained pastors and other fivefold ministers.
You need to talk a little louder, sweetie.
Did you not hear me?
Well, softly I heard you.
Oh, I go. Did you not hear that?
I heard.
Okay.
We will purchase several land tracts for the kingdom's sake and bring restoration to many wounded warriors that have been on the front lines and got wounded. Father told me that many prophetic words I've gotten over the decades would start coming together in 2019 for the kingdom's sake. He said, don't be surprised when Sid Roth from God TV calls us up for an interview. Now that kind of shocked me. I thought, I don't know, I'll be like you, Cindy. I don't know if I want to do this. Anyway. But I've had other people prophesy to us about being on Sid Roth before, and I thought that was interesting. But I felt like the Lord, that's what he told me. Father told me, it seems like a lifetime for you, yes, but now is your, Galatians 6:9, because you didn't cash in your chips early, and you endured to the end, and now it's harvest time for you. Honor and respect are now your due portion. I received that.
Amen. You deserve it.
I heard Father say, I don't know about that, but I take
You do, only because of Jesus.
Thank you. That brought clarity. There we go. I heard Father say, you prophesied that the Glory House Globetrotters was the best kept secret in the last 3 years. I did this. Drew was sitting right there on that couch here a few years ago, and I said, I'm just going to activate. I said, I'll tell you what, I said, I'll just start speaking in tongues and then I'll interpret it to you. Is that okay? He said, okay. I said, you know you speak in tongues and I'll interpret it. He said, okay. So he spoke in tongues. I said, okay. I said, the Lord told me to tell you, by the tongues you gave, that Glory House Globetrotters was the best kept secret in the last 3 years. Well, this is funny because right here it said, I heard the Father say that you prophesied that Glory House was the best kept secret in the last 3 years, but I say in the last 2 decades. It's now your turn. 2019 is the year that many cities and states in the U.S. as well as corporations will have to decide if they want and choose to be a goat or a sheep.
Wow.
There you
Corporation and city and
Choice.
state. And up here, I drew an arrow up here and it says, remember back to, it said, why halt ye between 2 decisions? Saul. King Saul. In 2019, many doors will be open to you in relationships with government leaders and financial companies and institutions, as well as many high-level church leaders. In your early 20s in 1974, I told you I would make you a multimillionaire. And in your 40s in 1994, I said to change the M to a B, as in billionaire. All that I promised you is now coming. Due harvest season time for you. When I have you prophesy to leaders, don't look at their faces. Just flow from your belly with what Holy Spirit gives you, and I will back you up. Okay, last 2 little bits here. 1 Peter. 4:17 through 19. For the time has arrived for your judgment to begin with the household of God, and if it begins with us, what will be the end of those who do not respect or believe or obey the good news, the gospel of God? And if the righteous are barely saved, what will become of the godless and the wicked? Woo!
No kidding.
And in 1 Peter 5:1 through 6, it talks about I warn and counsel the elders among you, the pastors and spiritual guides of the church, as a fellow elder and as eyewitnesses called to testify of the sufferings of Christ, as well as a sharer in the glory that is to be revealed. 10, nurture, guard, and guide the flock of God. That is your responsibility, not out of coercion or constraint, but willingly, not dishonorably, motivated by the advantages and profits belonging to the office, but eagerly and cheerfully, not domineering as arrogant dictator and overbearing persons over those in charge, but be examples, patterns, and models of Christian living to the flock of the congregation. And then when the chief shepherd is revealed, you will win the conqueror's crown of glory. There we are again, that same crown, that crown of glory. Likewise, you who are younger and of lesser rank, be subject to the elders, the ministers, and the spiritual guides of the church, giving them due respect and yielding to their counsel. Clothe, apron yourselves, all of you, with humility as the garb of a servant, so that it is covering, not possibly be stripped from you with freedom from pride and arrogance towards one another. For God sets himself against the proud and the insolent and overbearing and disdain and presumptuous and the boastful. And he opposes, frustrates, and defeats them, but gives grace, favor, blessing, and humility. Humble yourself, demote yourself, lower yourselves in your own estimation under the mighty hand of God, that in due time he may exalt you. Whew.
It's a very important verse.
Judgment comes to the house of God first, then almost simultaneously to the world system. Judgment on the churches of the 501c3s will be harsh and quick. There is something about that. I don't even go into all that, but there's those that are stuck in it, maybe not by choice of their own, but on the other hand, I think that just like Lyndon B. Johnson in 1951, I was born in 1951, that's when he did it. He started the 501c3.
Senator.
Then, yes, Senator then. So, just saying, just like they got us into bondage in that thing, they're gonna get us out of it too. So, Trump's really on top of that. 12 years ago, I prophesied that many churches would not exist any longer and the buildings could be bought for pennies on the dollar. And I believe that's where we're at. Right. About now. Okay, so that was all for you. Hold your stones.
Crown, hold your crown.
Ooh, that's even better. I like that. Anyway. So, woo. That was interesting. If anybody wants to read this, they can. It's really interesting about how Trump got informed ahead of time by all these high-ranking generals about what was going on. So I thought that was really great. So, anybody hear this? Really needs a prophetic word. Oh, look at him! Okay, go get him, Cindy. Look at her already.
I need it too.
Sick him, Cindy. Oh, I gotta sit down, man. I'm so tired. Hey, is this thing
And
still
she's
going?
wearing red, so she's on
Yeah.
fire.
Somewhere on